Marky Worthington Podcast all day.
All day.
Dream by night.
Don't buy me a drink. Just give me $10.
All day.
Go down to the strip club with your floppy disk and turn it into a hard drive.
Yeah, right. You'll get fucking thrown out by Big Tony.
We're here to name names and make people feel more ashamed for shit that they're not proud of.
Don't blow it. Keep it simple. Count your money.
No, whatever it is.
Welcome to the Marky Worthington Comedy Podcast. This is episode 74. We've had Hayden on the show before, and everyone really enjoyed hearing some crazy stories and talking about supernatural shit and all that sort of stuff. So we got Hayden's daughter Charlotte here. How you doing?
Yeah, well, mate.
Good. Yeah. and Hayden, everyone knows Hayden.
G'day.
Good to have you on the show.
Thanks for having us.
We've been trying to sort of queue something up for a fair while, trying to make sure that we sort of did it after like a gig and just good to finally have you over and do the show. I think initially I was like, I don't really know what direction I can sort of take the show, and then like once we start talking, it just flows itself. Yeah, we're gonna do some more band related stuff in a separate Canberra Metalheads interview. Anyone that listens to this show knows that I also have the metal show as well, which I'll be able to talk more about band stuff with Charlotte as well in that episode. But for here, we're just chatting about stories, things that have happened in the past. In the previous episode I did with Hayden, we spoke a little bit about supernatural shit, but we were just like, that could be its whole episode within itself.
Yeah.
Especially with me involved.
Yeah, because Charlotte was
Miss Witchy bitch over here.
Those stories that we told you about and that, Charlotte was the main one that picked a lot of that stuff up.
It's weird how sometimes like kids pick up, like, because I'm assuming you're like younger then as well, like you're still young now, but I'm just saying that when I remember when I was like, we I don't know if we spoke about it on, I think we spoke about it off mic, like after the last episode I did with Hayden was chatting about, I think I put you out there as Haydox, but anyway,
Haydox fine.
It's so many different
Haydox, Bear, the Baron, everything.
There's nearly a whole there's a whole episode on the origins of all your names, but it's the origin story. Yeah. But we're chatting about when I lived in a place that was like. So I'll kick it off. I'll tell you
tell Charlotte about where you live in that.
Yeah, because I
love it. Super into this stuff.
Yeah, so I sort of. This is I've had a couple of little things since this, but like I want to say up top, I'm not like a massive believer in supernatural shit until like I see something I can't explain. I'm like, well, I'm just going to chalk that up to like unexplained.
Yeah.
And then maybe one day it'll be more explained. But for now, I just like to keep a mental note of all the random shit. So like
now that you're aware of it, it's going to be in your life because you've opened yourself to it.
Your senses will...
Yeah.
Your spider senses.
Your spider senses will start tingling,
Yeah. No, I already sprayed for spiders before we did the show. But... Yeah, this is a.
Spray for spiders, Charlotte, the name of the spider on here.
I put the spider spray around, but I didn't put the salt around, so we got to be careful. So I lived in this place when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And the house was like 100 years old.
Or even more, you were saying to me, yeah.
Yeah, well, it was 100 years when I lived there, and that was like 20 years ago.
But it came with the furniture, didn't it?
And so, So what happened was we moved into this place, and the person that owned it rented it out as furnished. So we look in there, but it's just got a whole bunch of shit in there that's like of that era, right? So it had like a sideboard in there, it's like where you'd keep all your like fancy dining shit. It had in the middle of the kitchen there was a meat chest, where they would put. Back in the day, they'd just put a giant ice block in there, and it would keep everything kind of cool. What
year is this?
All like 1900 shit, early 1900s.
Late 80s through to the 20s, they used those meat safes.
And everything was all wood and metal.
Yeah, there was no for the veranda, and you had ones for inside.
Yeah. So they had a whole bunch of random shit. They also had some stuff that had been like semi-restored as like ornamental crap. Like for example, out on the balcony there was like an old linen press. Like so, what would happen before dryers? They had these two big wooden rollers.
The mangle.
And it was called a mangle, and it was all cast iron. You know those old Singer sewing machine things?
Yeah.
It was like made out of the same shit.
We got it at home.
Yeah. So So what you do is you'd run your wet washing through that, and you'd turn this handle, and it would like run it, dry it, like two big bulldozers just like turning inwards. The rollers would turn inwards, and
squeeze all the water out.
Yeah, so that was one of those. And the thing, so we moved in, pretty cheap rent, lived there for a little bit, and like, not initially, but we were there for like a couple, like maybe 18 months or whatever. And within the first like few weeks, you'd just be like walking into a room. There was like a long corridor, like a long hallway that led out the front door, and off that was like the rooms, and down the very end of that was my room. It used to be a veranda that had been enclosed to be the bedroom, which I stayed
those
in.
long hallways were to bring in breeze.
Yeah.
To cool off the house.
Actually, really practical.
And they're bringing it back, but
really
that's
practical.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what?
So you were in the sleep out.
I was in the sleep out.
Yeah, right.
Being the older child, and the one that they're like,
less likely to worry about being stolen.
Yeah, exactly. Like the dingo wasn't going to take me.
That is terrible, Muriel.
So what happens is I go out. I'm walking through the hallway, and every now and then you just see like a glimmer of like a dark shadow.
How old were you at this point?
So I was about 7.
So your brother was what, 6?
Yeah, 7 and 6. So my brother and I used to sleep in the same room for the first few months of me living there, but then once we like moved in, we kind of used my old bedroom as like the dump room. And then, like, once we unpacked everything, then it was clear, and I moved into that room. It was the first time I'd slept in my own bedroom, right? So anyway, the room we used to sleep into was next to the kitchen, but separating the kitchen and the bedroom was a double brick fireplace, like the big stove in one side. So what had happened is you could put the fire on.
Like we had in Cooma in the kitchen.
Yeah, that's exactly. Everything sounds like Cooma. Yeah.
So what had happened is you put the fire on in the kitchen, and then even when the fire was out, the warm would be like warm. It'd heat up the bedroom.
Yeah. So tell us where you were living.
So this was in Grenfell.
There you go.
Yeah. So it's central west New South Wales.
Yeah.
It's an
Out
old.
where Honeycrest is.
It's like an old sort of like gold mining town.
Oh,
What's the
they're
closest places?
fucking haunted.
What's the closest places to the
Like,
biggest place that people know?
Young Cowra.
Yeah.
All that sort of stuff.
Good spots.
Yeah. So it's actually where Ben Hall, the bushranger, was from. He was like kind of like the, I guess, similar era to Ned Kelly, but just not as like big.
He didn't have the outfit that he'd, that he made off the Samurai. Actually,
Ned Kelly was a fucking rock star.
I took the kids down there.
Yeah.
To Glen
I
Rowan.
saw a fucking ghost in that house.
And we found, like, bullet shot, all this sort of stuff. Like, we used to go there all the time when we went to Victoria.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate.
Yeah, no, all good, man.
Ben Hall, the gentleman bushranger.
I actually got a comedy gig that I'm doing in Beechworth that's going to be in the same area that he got trialled.
Castlemaine, all that area. Well, that's where my grandfather was born, near Hanging Rock.
Right.
Anyway, I want to hear this story.
Yeah, so it's awesome.
I don't think I've told it on the show, but so I used to see this black shadow, right? Now, I just ignored it, and then I didn't say anything, but my younger brother...
Did it have a humanoid shape?
It was more like a Reaper kind of thing, just like a... like
I know what you mean.
Like a flowing type... It was just out of the corner of my eye. I never got a good look. And I remember one time I came out of my bedroom, which was at the end of the hall, and looked up the hall and just seen it like go into the lounge room, which was like the first room, as you walk in the front door. So I like raced down there and looked in there because I was like,
wait, so you went after it?
Yeah, because I thought,
brave motherfucker.
Well,
I would have been shitting
I was
myself.
curious.
He was curious. He's 7.
Yeah,
so he hasn't seen the fear of the world.
Yeah.
So I smiled more. So I went down there and there was no one in there, and Mum and Dad's bedroom was next to that. And when I looked into the room, I said, I think Dad or Mum was in there. I was like, hey, did you just go into the? And they're like, nah. And I didn't say anything. And then a few weeks went on, and Mum and Dad had been talking behind the scenes because they were also seeing it, but they didn't want to tell us. So at the same time, the whole household...
Must be a Parent 101 thing, is it, Charlotte?
No, I'm like leading up to what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
So the whole household had seen this thing, but not said anything.
The elephant in the room.
So what happened was, and it all sort of came to a peak. So one night, and this isn't my own experience, this is what my old man said had happened. And my old man's not a drinker or doesn't smoke or anything like that, so he was not altered. And
that prevents you
he
from
just
seeing
rides fast
energies,
motorbikes.
Yeah. And he's still with us, which is fucking crazy considering how crazy his like younger age were. So anyway, he was laying in bed one night and he heard the mangle out on the veranda, which is next to their window,
fuck off.
turning. So he was like, some drunk fuck's walking home from the pub, seen the mangle, and he's turning it, right? So he looks out the window and the fucking handle is spinning, but there's no one there. So he thought maybe they were spinning it so fast they heard me get up and they've just run away and it's still spinning, right? Goes back to bed. All right, fuck it. Next morning I come in because we used to wake Dad up in the morning when we were kids. You go in there, wake him up. He'd he'd come out and like hang out. So I go in there and he's like, one of you boys, one of you fellas go out the front and turn the handle? I want to see if it matches the same sound as what I heard last night. So I go out there and I grab it, and this fucking thing is so old it's like seized up. I can't even fucking move it.
The first thing they did was rust down in the barrel.
Yeah, so I couldn't even move. I'm only 7, but like it wasn't free spinning. It was like I couldn't move it. And so the old man comes out and looks at it, and it's all rusted up. So we're like,
can't turn it,
he can't turn it either. He could have if he worked on it, but it wasn't just a thing that would spin if you just spun it, right? Like it was like,
especially at the speed that you heard that was going.
So
your dad heard.
We're like, yeah, all right, that's weird, but Dad doesn't say anything.
No.
So he tells Mum. Mum's kind of a bit like, how you going about it? Mum's a bit sort of not too sure about the whole thing. And see, Dad's he's a little bit more open to like the idea of shit, but Mum hadn't quite like come to the thing yet. She's just like, if I don't think about it, it won't happen, right?
My mum.
So one night after that, we're like, what had happened was we kind of moved some of the older furniture out to the shed, but the big old sideboard was so heavy that we just left it there, right?
Yeah.
But to open the room up a little bit, pushed it down a bit further to the corner of the room to give a bit more space. One night, hear something moving. Mum goes out to Mum goes out to check it. Doesn't see anything, just heard a noise. Goes back to bed. In the morning, the sideboard was back where it was before. Okay, that's fucking weird.
Noddy and I had a similar thing in our Queenslander.
Because they're trying to make their presence known,
So
but also putting it where they want it.
The next time we go out, so next time here's another noise. Now Mum's on top of this, right? So Mum had a fucking tennis racket, she's ready to fucking go. She goes out there, and the meat chest, right, was just sitting there. Mum or someone, I think we're drying something or whatever. There's, you do the dishes, you leave shit out to dry. The wooden rolling pin was just on top of the meat safe, and it's going from one side, stopping right at the end, and then rolling back again, just across the top of the thing. So it's not like it was like rolling off; it was stopping and coming back again.
Yeah.
So Mum's freaking out. She goes back into the bedroom, gets my old man. Dad's already awake. He's ready to cap a motherfucker. Yeah. And because at this point, Mum's still lying that it's like not something.
She thinks it's someone in the house.
So Mum just yells out like the top of her lung, "Leave us alone." And after that, we never seen it again.
Yeah, okay.
See, the thing like with spirits is they're more, like children are more open to seeing them, I guess, because they're so fresh into the world and they don't really have those things to like say, oh, that isn't real. That
they've been told all their life. That's not real. It's just
really,
something,
They're really open to it. And
it's your imagination.
A lot of the time they're like lonely because they're stuck and you don't know like how long they've been stuck there for, and they, want to sort of interact, and adults aren't really, they're fucking scared of it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But kids are, like you said, like curious. You're
But
curious about it.
I never poo-pooed it to you guys and said it's
No,
not real.
and I'll get into that.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
Dad
Yeah.
was really good with that stuff because I thought I was mental. Anyways, and so, yeah, like, they're more sort of wanting to interact with children, but especially for, like, adults to see it and acknowledge their presence, like, that's their home. And it's not just, like, coming to play and, like, fucking around and shit. It's like, that's their home. They've been there for a long time. And a lot of the time, it's kind of good if you're open to it to, like, share the house with them because that was their house. Like, I believe, you know, like, if they're still stuck there, like, you can either try and, like, release them or try and be their friend and be like, okay, well, when I'm home, like, don't be here, please, and when I'm gone, like, you can be here. And that sort of
You
thing.
got to live with them, and if you're
That's what
open
I mean. Yeah,
to it,
yeah, exactly.
you're going to see them.
Exactly,
Yeah.
but the fact that they said leave us alone, like they understood that, and that might have helped them. Like,
And they
go to
probably
another
would have seen
place.
that they were really scaring the kids and the mum.
And they probably didn't mean that
Well,
if it wasn't a
this
malicious
is all pretty
spirit.
woo-woo, everyone.
Yeah,
but
yeah. Well, here's like a follow-up from it. So this is what I found out later after I did some research into the place and spoke to a few of the people that have lived in the town like their whole life and all that sort of shit. So that house used to be a when it was first built, owned by a doctor, and he used to do
I know.
in that same room that I seen the black figure go into. He used to do some surgeries at home in that room.
Fuck that.
You know what type? In the olden days.
Like abortion.
Backyard abortions, I would say.
So
Because it was against
on,
the law.
on top of all that, he also used to do some dentistry.
Oh my God.
And
That's a code, though.
Sounds like me.
That's a code.
Home dentistry.
and apparently someone had actually passed away in that room because they used to give people booze to help with the
Yeah.
So this guy drank like a quarter whiskey. They pulled out a tooth and he bled out in the chair. In that front room. So, and then after that, a dude lived in that house that was an alcoholic and he drank himself to death in that room. And underneath the house, there was a cellar. And at the back of the
Bit
room,
of vomit just came in my mouth.
there was a brick backing to the back of the thing.
Oh, I remember you saying this. Oh, listen.
And there was a section of the brick that had been smashed out. Like I think the people before us had mounted a safe in there. But when they moved, they took the safe with them. And you could see under the house. And under the house, there was a gap about this big. And just the floorboards and dirt under the whole house. And we never went in there. But as well as that, there was also in the backyard a fucking well. And when you used to, my
You got
brother,
the trifecta.
my
That's
brother,
literally every,
so my brother and
Can I
I,
just say something about the hole in the wall? How do you know that they did that to make the safe?
Yeah.
Because it could have been, he might have been burying shit under
I actually think that if you're going to dispose of shit
Especially
under the
little
house,
babies.
under the house could be a thing.
there. Yeah.
And also the well in the backyard, my brother and I, because curious kids, we got like, you know those little glow sticks used for like fishing and stuff?
Yeah.
We broke one of those and dropped it down the well. Didn't fucking see it land. Like, we don't know how
And
deep
that
that fucking
there
thing
is all
was.
granite country, so it's, you know, limestone. And
It could be,
caverns
who
and-
knows how deep that
Yeah.
fucking thing was.
Yeah.
It just had a mesh grate over it.
And they don't, you know, when you've got the guys that find wells, so the dowsers and stuff, like, you think about that, you've got the whole, where you're living is a really, like the water table, it's quite low, but it's pristine water, so you've got all that limestone going right down there. It could be a kilometre.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
just wouldn't know, would you?
Well, yeah. So anyway, there's the follow-up from that. So, like,
I love it.
The people,
I didn't know about that bit.
How crazy is this though? The people that owned it then still own it now. So and
They're probably hearing stories from everyone that have lived
yeah,
there.
so
Well, they would have lived there too, wouldn't they?
yeah,
at
they
some
lived
stage?
there. Yeah. So I'd be interested to like see if there's anyone else out there with stories. But yeah, that's my thing. Yeah.
You should reach out and like see if anyone else has stories and
Yeah,
stuff. That'd
yeah.
be pretty cool.
What
Yeah.
story are you going to tell out of the millions that we've
Well,
got?
I was thinking the Cooma one or the one down the coast? Should I tell the one down the coast?
Yeah.
It's pretty woo-woo.
It's pretty woo-woo,
So
but
I'll just preface it as saying...
Is this
tell them
episode
about,
called
tell them
Woo
about
Woo?
all the artifacts that she'd had from all over
Yeah,
the world.
I'm just going to preface it to say that, you know, like, so my nana, Dad's mum,
Yeah.
she's a psychic medium.
Okay.
She's been doing that for many years.
Yeah.
And then on my mum's side of the family...
Her grandmother was as well, and Granddad's grandmother in
Yeah.
Wales was the clever woman in the
Yeah.
village. So it sort
Yeah.
of goes back. People will be like, "Oh, fucking
So-
bullshit, Hayden." But
So
anyway,
like I like grew up with that, sort of not really like understanding it to a certain point, but I do like fun things with Nana about like fairies and like learning about spirits and stuff. And then on Mum's side of the family, like her family's like quite Christian, so I had
Yeah.
that like it was kind of a good balance.
her
so,
mum
like,
tried to exorcise me. No shit.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
full. She was like, "Demons, be gone."
I can't
I
even.
knocked out from my seizure, like she's on top of me going, "Demons, be gone out of this man."
But she was trying to help
I
you,
know,
Dad.
sorry,
She was
sorry.
trying to help you. It was a
Sorry,
beautiful
she
thing.
was.
But yeah, so I had like both sides
Put
of the
that on.
family, like.
It's gonna need more than a bit of sage.
That's no shit. That is no shit.
More than.
My kids are like.
Trying to tell a fucking story, Dad.
Yeah.
I'm trying to tell a story. So
It doesn't help that Hayden and I are both just fucking talking.
I feel like we
Sorry.
all have ADHD.
No, you gotta
this
tell
is really
this one,
difficult.
Charlotte, 'cause this is
so,
hectic.
So both sides of the family, like spiritual in their own way. So I had a good balance
Yeah.
and like a level mindset about it, like as a kid, like knowing about that. Anyway. So I started like seeing things when I was younger and I was a bit like scared about it, thinking it might have just been like a nightmare or a dream or something.
Yep.
But Dad was like, okay, like he never made me feel like, oh, that's just your imagination.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
was like, okay, and he fully took it in and that,
And we talk it through, and
yeah, and it made me feel really comfortable and I
Yeah.
wasn't scared anymore because I was like, oh, like, well, that might have been a scary thing, but he's not making me feel like it's in my head.
Yeah.
Which is good parenting. Anyway, and so this...
thank you, Charlotte.
That's all good. So this one time, we were down the coast with one of Dad's like ex-girlfriends and my like stepbrothers and sisters at the time.
Yeah.
And it was the grandmother's house, and she was collecting a lot of stuff from Papua New Guinea. That's a lot of like voodoo, woo-woo stuff.
Africa.
A lot of like masks with like human teeth, human hair, all those sorts
Libya.
of things. As soon as I walked into that house, instantly I was just so scared.
She had like prayer rugs.
I could
Like,
not.
she was like a real, like almost like an antiquarian
Yeah,
sort
it
of
was-
lady. Like after the war, they just went everywhere.
And just
It was
took
kind
everything.
of
Yeah.
like I felt very scared, and so it was like 4 of us kids in a lounge room, like bunking together on the floor. At Mum's house, we have like heaps of cats and stuff, and I'm used to them just like coming up to me and everything. So I'm just like asleep. I finally get to sleep, and I hear this purring in my ear, and I kind of, you know, you kind of think you're at home still, and I was like, oh, like, you know, oh, my cats. All of a sudden, I like open my eyes and I realize I'm like not home. I see this like, no shit, I cannot even fucking describe it. It's like, you know that alcohol that has like that kind of like green like demon on it?
Yeah, the absinthe.
Absinthe, yeah. So it was like that. So it was like this feline sort
It's
of
got a green demon in
creature.
it too.
Yeah, and it was like about this big, and it was purring, and it was crawling off me onto my brother, and I was like frozen in fear, and I was like, fuck, and I got up the courage, and I just like sprinted to Dad's room. I was probably about 12.
Yeah.
No, you're a bit younger than that.
No, because I remember I was like in my like that awkward stage.
Okay, rightio.
And I remember just crying, and I felt really awkward because
went
like
straight to me.
I wasn't really a little kid anymore,
Yeah,
so I
yeah.
was a bit like uncomfortable crying to my
But
dad.
she was hysterical.
And I was just like, Dad, like I just saw this thing, like rah, rah, rah. Dad's fucking girlfriend at the time was like, oh, she's fucking had a nightmare. Like,
Yeah,
rah.
just go to bed
And
to
Dad's
bed.
like,
And I'm
no,
just like, nah.
Charlotte is not fucking bullshitting. Like she does not
She
get
hardly ever
scared
cried.
like this.
Yeah.
She
Do you
just-
know what I mean? Like one of
Yeah,
those kids
yeah.
you say, get in, she'd be like,
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I'm a tough sassy bitch. Like
Yeah.
I don't fucking take
even
shit.
back when she was 4.
And
Yeah,
Dad's
yeah.
like, no, like I fully believe her. Like Dad wanted to go. He wanted to pack up all the shit and just fucking leave.
I
Yeah.
was trying to calm Charlotte down, not to make her so scared,
But he
I
was
knew
scared.
because
Yeah.
I'd seen things before too. But we'll keep going, and then I'll tell
Mm.
him about when I spoke to the grandmother, she used
Yeah.
to call me Wooly. She
Yeah.
she was like really
That's
posh.
pretty much the end of the story. I ended up just sleeping in Dad's room.
No, you came in and they were like, "Oh, stop this!" Da, 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 da. And the
The whole
grandmother
house
came in.
woke up. The whole house woke up.
The grandmother came in. Now she was really old, and she'd been around
Around the sun a
incredible
few
thing, her
times.
husband was a fighter pilot in World War II on the English thing.
Yeah.
He crashed over enemy lines. Her and her sister set out from England because they were like landed gentry to go find him.
Yeah, right.
And they got like, I don't know, Czechoslovakia or somewhere like this. Is how radical these people were.
Yeah.
But her mum her grandmother collected this all over the world, and all the other people she never liked, but some reason, because I was into fly fishing and stuff, she was right into that. But she said to me later, she said, "It's all right, love, it's all right, love." And she never said, "Go back to sleep, da da da." My partner was pretty pissed off, but the grandmother wasn't.
She was like scientist, like didn't really believe in that shit.
Yeah. So the next time I stayed there, she said, "Wooly, come here." And she showed me this carving, and it was of a Panther Man.
You didn't fucking tell me that ever.
So she showed
They're
me
saving
this,
it for the show.
She showed me this carving of the Panther Man that she'd got from, I can't remember where it was.
Because it was feline human.
Yeah.
And I remember it so vividly.
Yeah.
It was awful.
Well, she gave me that mask that had the human teeth and the human hair in it.
Anything that has human stuff
My
in
mate
it,
who
nah.
went up and my best mate went up and spent a lot of time in New Guinea, and like where there was like, witch doctor stuff.
Yeah.
There was like the witch doctor cult and
Because their
stuff like that.
voodoo was full fucking real shit.
He saw it and said, he calls me Jojo. He goes, "Jojo, what the fuck have you got that in your house for?" I said, "What do you mean?" He's the Piers. I call him the Piers. I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Mate, you need to get rid of that like now."
Also, that
he was freaking out.
That reminds me, so when I used to have like sleepovers like with my friends like as kids, Dad would have the weirdest fucking shit in his house. My friends would be too scared to sleep
We'd have
over.
to put it all
we
away.
had to put it away or put blankets over stuff. And then
Paintings.
their mums would come in the middle of the night to come pick them up because the house was too scary, but that was just normal to us.
Yeah.
And so I'd go to other people's houses and I'm like, "Oh, this is weird. There's like not this stuff
There's
around."
not
Because like
this
voodoo.
skulls
isn't
and
normal.
bones.
There's not masks with human teeth and shit.
Yeah.
But the funny thing was, like, they
Where's your
come to our-
human teeth masks?
But like, doesn't everyone have them? But
Yeah.
remember when they come and I'd put all the 80s movies in, like Goonies and that, all the ones they'd grown up with. Right?
Yeah.
So within the first half an hour, we've seen people be shot,
Yeah.
someone pretending to hang themselves.
Yeah.
Then kids are being threatened to get their hands put into blenders,
Yeah.
and they're eating ice cream and a dead man falls on them. Like, they had to ring their parents. They're just like, they couldn't deal with all these.
Mind you,
You just didn't want
They
people
weren't
coming
all
over,
Carlin,
dude.
though.
You just didn't want people coming over, dude. You'd answer the door with the fucking mask and shit on.
Oh, yeah, we did that too. Scared
I
the
have
men.
been traumatized to the fucking shit house by Dad because he and Mum's so pissed off about this, and even I am like, I don't know what the fuck you were thinking.
Oh, here we go.
But on Halloween, right? So Hope's a little bit older than me, like my sister.
Like, I brought Halloween to Holt, didn't I? They never had it. 12 years ago, there was one person...
They
did it.
wish you just halt the
We
Halloween.
never got any trick-or-treaters
'Cause I
ever
used to-
again because Dad scared the shit
We'd
out
go to
of
the
them.
video shops and all the stone guys would be in there.
They just gave us
We'd
food
be going
and
trick-or-treating,
lollies.
and they're like, "Oh, wow," and they'd be giving them all this shit. 'Cause
But
no one did it.
listen
Yeah.
to this. So on Halloween, Hope and some of her older friends and Dad were watching they were watching It, right?
Yeah.
So I watched that when I was way too fucking young.
Yeah.
And Dad,
The first part, not when it turns into the stupid
because
spider.
Dad did the full makeup with the wax and all that sort of shit.
Yeah.
So afterwards, I had to have
All
a
kids.
shower. I had to have a shower after watching It. So I was like, Dad,
Terrified.
you need to face the wall and be in the fucking room because I'm so fucking scared that Pennywise is gonna come and fucking get me.
Fuck yeah.
And I was bawling my eyes and I'm like, can't I just take it up with a face washer? And he's like, no, Charlotte, you need to fucking have a shower.
I'm like,
and
that's a good
we
idea.
also watched the Blair Witch Project and we went camping the next day.
Oh, yeah, that was probably my mistake.
Dude, it's all about timing.
When I get monomania on something,
Yeah, yeah.
I was 8. I was William's age. I was 8, Dad.
My son Jack, who's also pretty fey, he has this bad dream still to this day of me as as the Wolfman from the original Wolfman.
Yeah, yeah.
Because the walking stick he had.
Yeah.
Because I used to have walking sticks because of my car accident.
Yeah.
So I used to make my own.
Yeah.
Well, I did.
It was kind of groovy though.
I did a perfect replica of the one that's in the Wolfman.
Oh, really? Yeah.
With Lon Chaney in that, and I think it's Lon Chaney. Anyway, Jack used to have this dream that I was like the werewolf.
Yeah.
Still has it. Because they had the rings, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It was funny.
Mind
but he's the one that came in.
He's the one that saw most spiritual things. Like, I'm open to it and I'm like really into it. But Jack is actually the one who had seen and experienced most of the supernatural stuff in our old house in Cooma.
The house in Cooma had like convict bricks. That's how old it was.
Yeah.
Every room had a fireplace.
He's seen the greys, like aliens and shit as a kid.
He's seen crazy shit like in the house. He talked to me about his old dad before I was his dad.
Yeah.
Like in
His room. So there was an extension on the house. It was like a really old house, but they added this extension. It was the guy who lived there previously who passed away in that house, I think.
He was a geologist on the snowy scheme.
Jack got his own bedroom, and it was that guy's office in the extension.
Yeah.
And I remember one day we were just like eating porridge in the kitchen, and Jack just turns to Dad, and he's probably like 5 or 6. And
he was like 4.
You were like the 3 little bears just having porridge.
Exactly.
No, that's what it was. And then I remember I was sitting next to him.
One was too hot, one was just right. The other one was too
I was sitting next to him, and I was just eating my porridge, like getting ready for school. And Jack just goes, "Daddy, who's that old man that sits on the end of my bed at night, but I try and talk to him and he won't talk to me."
He won't talk
and I
back.
remember Dad just looked at us, and the next day Jack had moved out of that room.
I said, "Come on, let's do something fun today, Jack. So you're not in your room by yourself. Let's move you into the girls' room with the bunks and all that." I just like moved him into there.
And I just remember being so scared of that room.
And now he plays with Barbie dolls.
Like,
No. But like he was just
dressed as Superman jumping off the fucking roof and shit.
Yeah, but he
That's
was
one
just
thing,
so
Jack and I used to dress as Power Rangers and jump
open
off
to
the
it.
water tank.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, once they put an outfit on, he became a different person. He talked different. He goes, "Dad, let's go down the street."
He
Take
became
his outfit off. And he's like, you know, but like, far out.
He's like a method actor.
Yeah, even when he was 3, 4,
Jack
5.
and I were full fucking stunt people. Like,
I climbed the trees to the top.
so bad because I tried to keep up with the boys. Yeah, I tried to keep up with the boys. We were fucking like
dirt bikes,
jumping out of
BMXs.
trees, jumping off the roof, just
skating, bombing the biggest hill in Cooma.
Yeah.
And they've only just like learned how to kick turn.
Yeah.
And they're like, and what Jack said to his, remember he said, "Dad, I wish I had a body made out of metal."
I remember that.
And then I wouldn't have to get hurt all the time. I said, "Dude, if you think about what you're doing first, you won't get as hurt." He goes, "Yeah,
I
but that's
wonder
not
where
fun."
he gets that from, though, Dad.
But yeah, the funniest thing is, my mate, we used to call him the German. He was like a professor of geology and stuff, but he was a one-man band.
Yeah.
So he was from
playing out of
Austria, and I'd call him the German, which he hated.
Yeah.
But he was right into punk and all that, and he would play one-man band show, and he made up a song about Jack, about "I wish my body was made out of metal" and stuff like that. But yeah, so these kids would just, like every afternoon I'd take them down the Murrumbidgee, we'd see platypus and all that, and then the next thing we're up home and and I look up and Charles at the top of the tree and the top branch is going,
Yeah, I got stuck.
Look how high up I am. And I'm like,
the boys were flexing like how high they could climb the tree, and I thought, that's suck you.
And she's climbing in her Barbie high heels.
Yeah.
I'll fucking climb the tree higher than them. And I did, and they were like, "Whoa, this is amazing. Like, Charlotte's up so high." And I was like, "How the fuck am I going to get down from here?"
That was radical.
Stuck. I still do shit like that.
So
they weren't scared. I'd take them fly fishing, so they'd be behind us.
Yeah.
One of them would be in the capucci in the back, which was usually, like, Hope was perfect. Charlotte just wanted to rip my beard out, rip the fish in half, everything. And then Jack was kind of halfway.
Like a gremlin.
Yeah. So they'd have their Crocs on, their like, what do you call it, wet shirt and everything like that, and they'd be following me up the creek, playing in the creek at the same time.
Yeah.
So they weren't afraid of, like, nature.
Well,
Still not.
After I lived in Granville, I moved out of there when I was like 7. So that was the last house we lived in when I was in Granville. Then we moved to Orange, which is like near Bathurst.
Yeah. I've got friends from there.
So when we lived there, I don't have like a ghost story from there, but I do have a tree story. So I lived on the corner, in a house on the corner, and next to us was a cul-de-sac. And it was like all government housing around us, and just one like that was like private. It was like maybe like probably something you'd usually see if you're to compare it to Canberra. You'd say somewhere like some of the houses you'd see in Kayleen, like kind of like a little bit like Wog looking sort of house, you know, arches and wrought iron
Lions out
shit.
the front.
Yeah,
on the post.
not quite the lions, but but yeah. So we lived in one of those places, but all the rest were just all like fibro houses.
Yeah.
Actually, the chick next door nearly burnt it down. I was friends with the kid.
You had to burn
Shit
fibro.
happens, man.
Yeah, dude, but she fucking
happens.
she'd fall asleep with a dart in her hand and like fucking like you
Like
go
a
in.
noddy?
Yeah, I don't know, like fucking definitely on the nod.
Jesus.
Yeah. So like I used to just go around there because he had a
Not naughty.
yeah.
No, I mean like,
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
On the nod.
like
on
a
the
Michael
nod.
Hutchins burning his
Yeah.
fingers.
Actually, what's his name? Joey Diaz has a great story about how he farted on the bus, and there was this fucking heroin addict that was on the nod, and even he was like, "Man, who farted?" Like it was like that fucking bad. But
Well, you had that on the tour.
yeah, he was real bad, man. This Joey Diaz, he got stories. He's a New York comedian guy. Well, he's from LA. He moves between LA but yeah. Anyway, he's on the East Coast now. But yeah, so she would like pass out and that sort of shit. But she had a son that was similar age to me, so I used to go over there and play
Sega.
yeah, like Sega, and then they got a N64. They had nothing in their house, but they had like the newest console, you know what I mean? So we'd fucking just go over and play that, like play South Park 3D. It was like the terrible graphics. It was the worst game they made.
But it was rad back then.
But it was cool then. So, and then what happened was the hubby and her split up, and down the cul-de-sac there was a single dad that lived down there with 2 sons. So her and him hooked up, and then she moved into that place, and the house next door was free, yeah. And then some like drug dealers moved in there, and we weren't allowed to look at them. So
Go Orange.
literally, if you were just like, you're like, "G'day, mate," as you're walking out, they'd be like, "What are you looking at, cunt?" Like they didn't give a fuck. So you know, double denim too.
And you're
Weird.
5.
Yeah. So we used to go down there and hang out because now like the kids that live down the road and the kid from next door are all in the same house. So it was rad. We used to hang out with them. But in the corner of the cul-de-sac in front someone's front yard, there was this giant fucking pine tree. It was massive. And we used to get in Orange cicadas, you know, like
Yeah.
I used to collect their
The big
shells.
ones.
I was
Deafening.
obsessed with that.
So we'd get them in like, they'd be brown, black or green, depending. And so we'd climb up the tree and get all the shells out.
yeah, that
It'd
was
be
my
fucking
favourite thing
full,
to do. We used
right?
to get like buckets of
Yeah,
them.
yeah. I always used to think that.
So eventful.
I used to think, like speaking about spiritual shit, I thought that that's when they died and that was their soul that left. Like that was just.
That's cute.
That was
that's
the
sweet.
like. I'm like the soul has left the body.
That's cool.
So anyway, I'd fucking climb up, and we're climbing up there, and we're getting them all. And the older of the 2 brothers that were originally from down the cul-de-sac was like a little daredevil dude.
Yeah.
So he fucking had. He was
Like
like,
Hot Rod.
yeah. So I
love that movie.
I was like maybe we lived there for a couple of years. So by this point I was probably like 9 years old. But he was like 14. So he was like. It was just cool.
He was the king of the cul-de-sac.
He was the king of the cul-de-sac. So, dude, one day he got, you know, those like BMX bikes with no brakes or anything, just got pegs on the back and the front,
freestyle,
and pretty much the back and front chain, like the sprockets are the same size. Like it was just geared
for
real
freestyle
low,
and flat.
Yeah, and he was a psycho dude, so he climbed up this fucking pine tree and dragged his BMX bike up with him. Like,
Oh
just
my
I
god.
feel like I know who this is, and they are from Orange.
we get to the top. Shout out Jeremy.
No.
Anyway, nah, fuck it, Jeremy. So we get up, we get up to the top.
Not fucking Jeremy.
And he was a Jeremy too, yeah, he was such a Jeremy. He fucking lines it up. You know, pine tree, all the leaves are facing down?
Yeah.
He lines it up, no stack at or anything, fuck it, just raw dogging, and just gets on it, and we're all standing back, and fuck, if the camera phones were a thing back then, we would have all been, but
TikTok viral.
we were all just filming with our minds. You know what I mean? This was either going to traumatise us or be a good story for the rest of our life. And this motherfucker's like way up.
I've got a story very
like
similar to this,
10
but
meters.
not the bike.
It's like 10 metres up this
Yeah,
fucker. It's like
wow.
a 15
I'm
metre
getting
pine tree.
anxiety, like, the further the story goes along.
And he just looks over and he just goes,
My feet are tingling.
he's like, you ready, boys? And we're
Oh,
like, here we go. We're all still holding cicadas
This is the
in.
first time I've ever seen somebody die in real life.
Yeah, we're gonna get to poke a dead body like in fucking what's that movie where they find him in the creek?
Stand by me.
We're gonna have this is our Stand By Me story, dude.
That is so fucked up. That is not funny.
We had our sticks and shit ready, like we knew it was gonna happen. Like I remember the younger brother was just holding his shirt out with all the cicada shells in it still, like he was just looking, holding it, and we're like putting more in there while we're watching. Like, all right,
Sounds
Jeremy.
like hell.
Well, all right, Jeremy, give her a whirl, son. And he just fucking lets go and goes straight down, dude. Like a slippery dip, he just slid down the whole fucking pine tree
So no, like,
cones. No, he just
Just
went
like clean.
straight down it. Bunny hops it at the bottom, and
Oh, so he
and he
fucking
goes,
knew what he
"That's
was
how
doing.
it's done, boys."
He
and
knew what he was
didn't
doing.
fucking do anything like as
Yeah.
bad as it could have been. And
Let's look him up. Is he a stuntman now?
I fucking hope that he's in jail. So
Probably an ice in jail.
no, he's I don't even speak to them anymore. But like, actually, I think I've seen one of them. He's like a bodybuilder. Like, I think the younger brother's like jacked as fuck now.
Yeah, right.
I actually don't
Go
know.
to the voids.
But you know, fuck.
Well, when
that's
I
years
was a kid,
ago.
I was that kid.
Yeah.
I used to have
But
to.
with my sister on my BMX bike. At
Yeah.
the same time, we did stunts together.
I used to have to
I was possessed by, what's it called?
Seth.
Evil Knievel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember Seth, that stunt dude? From
Nah.
like Krusty Demons and shit.
Oh, no. Jack was right into Krusty Demons.
So I remember the dad showed us this video of Seth, right? He's like,
oh, yeah, no, I know. He's full of metal.
I'm
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of getting inspired and want to do
He's
Krusty
like-
Demon shit.
He's like, so Dad showed us this video, Krusty Demons of Dirt #1.
Yeah.
And at the very start, it's Seth going over the sand dunes.
Yeah, I remember that one. And over his friends.
Yeah, and
Hot Rod.
Yeah.
he's in the back of because he goes over a dune, lands, and then just like fucking smacks his face on the handlebars.
Yeah.
I did. Okay, so in Cooma, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you talking
Jack-
about the motorbike into the wall, or?
No, this is a different fucking story.
All right.
So Jack and Kel made this huge jump. For like weeks they'd been making it and they were
Digging it.
doing it. And I was sitting there and I was like, I really want to do that. I really want to give it a go. And I was like, all right,
They'd made a
guys.
track all the
All
way
right,
down the hill.
guys, I'm going to do it. And they're like, oh, like usually they'd let me join in, but they're like, oh, I don't know about this one,
Yeah.
Charlotte.
So
And I was
there's
like,
3 starts. There's
Yeah.
that start, and then the top start that's got even more of a hill. Charlotte decided first go
no, let me tell it.
to go to the top.
Yeah. So I
I would've
decided,
stopped it.
I want to do the big one.
Because I didn't know, so I would have stopped that real quick because I
I-
knew she was a maniac.
I just
But-
love some competition and I have no fear, right? So I was like, yeah, fuck
Yeah,
it,
she
do
didn't
the
have any
big one
fear.
as a kid.
No fear shirt.
And the boys were just like, the boys were
Remember that
actually
brand?
like
Yeah.
scared. They were like, shit. So I'm like going up and I'm getting some air and I remember just being in the air and just in slow motion could feel myself going down and I smacked my face and I just go, and my whole face was numb and I swear I broke my nose because
Yeah.
my
And
nose is a
Jack
bit
came
crooked.
flying in going, Dad, I think Charlotte might be maybe a little bit dead. Maybe a little bit dead. So I just raced out.
At least I lived my life.
Dad, I think Charlotte might be a little bit dead.
See, now I can do all that shit on stage and like
Little bit
get away with
He's
it.
like slowly
Yeah.
reducing the severity.
I raced out. It was carnage, though, wasn't it? Because your leg was tangled up in the back spoke.
And I had like bindies in my face.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was hectic.
In my
I was just going to tell him about...
Like in Big Lads, eat the bindies.
Like,
cunt.
I have so many bumps on my forehead. Like, as I've gotten older, like, they've grown out a bit. But I used to have, like, bump, the most uneven fucking
Like,
face.
she was the one that had always
the reason I had this,
try the hectic shit.
reason I have this crooked tooth, right,
Yeah.
is because, one, when I was a kid, Hope slammed a car door in my face and, like, made it black.
This was when they weren't fighting before school with hairbrushes.
Yeah. And then I decided to go down this huge slide on my stomach backwards, and I was like, ah, bang, and this tooth just fucking came out, and then it grew that way. And I was like, oh well.
So our kids, like my kids were never like, you know, I'd let them make a mistake so they learnt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Learned the hard
when
way.
I was a kid,
a song called that.
you know, you're probably the same sort of kids. There was Jason, Jamie, and Joshua, right? They were
Triple J, dude. I remember.
Yeah, they were
J-names are bad news.
They were Jehovah's Witness, right? And their dad was right into surfing. There was this big, massive, like Maori Islander dude that was like, you know, in his past life he was pretty hectic.
Yeah, it's still got a little guy's voice though.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? They're always just like, oh yeah.
It's always the quiet ones.
Oh fuck.
But these kids were always getting
If you look
hurt.
at my sister again, I'm gonna kill you.
These
It's like,
kids
dude,
were
I
always
thought it was
getting-
you. Have you seen your sister, dude? It looks like you with long hair. What are you talking about?
That's me and Jack. All my girlfriends are in love with Jack, and it's so weird because he looks like me.
Yeah.
Jason would get his kids to do, his younger kids, to do like stunt stuff.
Yeah.
I was the stuntman, but this one day, Joshua climbed all the way up the top of this camphor laurel tree,
Yeah.
like as high as you can get. And he's like, look at me, and just snapped, and he just like helicopter dunk, dunk, dunk,
Oh, Dad.
dunk, dunk, all the way down. He's on the ground like going, because he was so fucking winded.
Yeah.
I ran home. I just went, because I thought he was dead, so I just ran home.
Do you want to
His dad
hear?
came out and started smacking the shit out of everyone.
you knew someone else might be poking him with a stick.
Marky, I think you need to hear the greatest story of all time.
Now I
Tell
do.
the
Yeah.
goanna story with the teacher and the bus.
Oh, okay.
This story.
Oh, this will be our closer. So,
Yeah, this
Jordan,
is-
are you happy
this
to
is the
close on this?
closer.
Yeah.
This is the best story of all
right. So I'm
time.
going to change one
so
name
off topic.
to protect the, you know. So I grew up on the
integrity.
Tweed. Yeah, I grew up on the Tweed, and we had a lot of like Ngunnawal kids. Not Ngunnawal. Bundjalung people from that area. So we
Yeah.
had a lot of like Aboriginal
You've been in
families
Canberra too long.
and everything. And
Well, Bunja down the coast.
so I
That's how
hung out with a
remember.
lot of those guys, and they teach you stuff and everything. Well, there was one kid who I'm going to change his name, and his name was Chika. So Chika was the kid that was always naughty,
Yep.
but he was a top bloke, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we go there, and we've got two teachers married. They came there for the Aquarius Festival that was happening in 1970, never left, right? One's name was, what was her name? Anyway, I'll tell you, Mrs. Fleming, and there was Mr. Fleming. Mr. Fleming went to Tweed River High in the 70s. He still had the Tweed River High t-shirt, and he would wear it on excursions, and his little gut would hang out. Massive beard, and then Mrs. Fleming looked like Nana Muscuri, right? So they've told us, like, we're going to I can't even think of the island now. We're going there now today. So there's lots of animals, and she talked really calm. And
Like a
she was
therapist?
she
Like,
was
this is the
she was
best
the
story.
original ASMR lady,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So she's saying, now kids, so like now we've had an incident here before. So with the goannas, if they come down, they come near you, just stay still. If they start to come towards you, just lay on the ground, and then they'll go past you. And we're all like, yeah, we're up the back like this. I'm like this. This is before I was medicated, so I just wanted to get out in the bush and start smashing shit. You know?
Yeah.
So we go down this long, dirt road with massive rocks. We're going right down the end, and then I said to Chika, hey, check out that goanna. And he's like, I'm going to get it. He goes, Bear, I'm going to get it. I said, dude, mate, don't, because we'll get in trouble on that. Yeah, go get it. And I'm like, say down, block him when he's doing it, okay? So we're all like up the end there. Now it's about 150 metres to the bus, right? There's all girls there and everything like. This is the first excursion for the year, by the way, for geography. So we go down there, I'm like, go on, Chicky, get up there. So he's climbing up the tree, and he grabs onto the tail. He's going, Bear, get it. He's like, pulling it. like this, and it wouldn't come down. Next to me, hear this, like this noise,
Spawns
and
of
I
Satan
look
are ready
up,
to go.
and there's this massive fucking male up the tree. One of the biggest goannas I've seen some big ones, and it just sort of turned around and went like that, and I said to Chico, I said, fucking run. Anyway, he jumped, he had the little one in his hand. The big one came flying down and it was chasing us. Now, I was pretty fast back in the day. I'm running.
You're still fast.
I was running like a madman, and I hear this, throw yourself on the ground, throw yourself on the ground, and there's all these girls like going, like throwing themselves onto the fucking rocks. There's this goanna like, you know how they run up on their thing?
Yeah.
And Chica's like, go run. Everyone's like, there's people crying, Chica, why did you do it? Anyway, so we're
Bloody
running.
Chica.
There's girls like going, and like they've got fucking cuts and bits of rock in them and everything like that, and we're just running past them like, you know, leave the fucking people behind, and I'm like helping people. It's like the war.
Everyone for themselves.
And this goanna's still coming. And they're just running over these people, and we get in the bus. That we never went on another excursion that year. They had to take them straight to. They end up going to the Tweed Hospital, not Moomba Hospital, and all these girls in the bus go, and they've got like, you know, when you snot cry, and then you've been in all the dirt, and it's so there's all these glamours in the school with snot things, and Chica's up the back, and I'm like, man, that was radical. He's like, yeah, do you think I'm going to get in trouble? And I went, yeah, you're going to get in big trouble. Yeah, mate, you're fucked.
We're going to get in trouble.
He ended up dying not long after that. While he was getting chased by the police on a dirt bike, and he had his cousin on there, and they hit a pole, but he was always up to no good.
Wow.
And man, that story though, the girls, they just had dirt and shit all over them. They were all crying. Some boys were crying, some traumatised. But Mrs. Fleming, that's the first time I ever heard her yell. And she was screaming like a banshee.
That's fucking awesome, dude.
It's probably my favourite story of all time.
Oh yeah, Chico and the goanna.
What a fucking mad closer. Let's wrap it on that. That's for this one. We're going to do some more chats for music on the Canberra Metalheads podcast. So if you want to hear some more about music stuff, head over there. But for now, thanks for being on the show. Episode 74, wrapping it up.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to us chat shit.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
I think everyone will be happy to hear some more supernatural shit after the last one. We kind of left them hanging, so they're finally going to get what they wanted.
I haven't even told them the one about the Coolangatta houses yet, have we?
Oh, fuck, there's a teaser for part
more.
2. So, thanks everyone for tuning in, and, catch you next time. Peace.
Bye.
Don't buy me a drink.
Just name names.
Right, Big Tony, you'll get fucking thrown out
At a strip club with your floppy disk all day.
Make people feel shame for shit all day.
Don't blow
Turn it
it.
into a hard drive.
Yeah, right. You'll get fucking... We're here
Keep it simple. Count your money.
That they're not proud of. Just give me $10. All right.